suretyship. Surety is often provided by parties in their personal capacity, where the transaction as such is concluded in the name of, for example, a legal entity such as a company or a close corporation, or a trust as the purchaser. Reason being that if, for example, a company purchases the property, there might be concern as to whether there would be any recourse against that company if, for example, the company fails to perform in terms of the agreement. That company might be an empty shell, might not have any assets. So even if you have an agreement and you can enforce that agreement, it doesn't help much if that company doesn't have any assets. Private individuals representing companies, on the other hand, often have some assets in their name. So your chances of successfully enforcing the agreement are typically better if there's also personal liability that such representative of the company accepts, and that is done through a suretyship. So you would, for example, have a company buying a fixed property, and the representative of the company, who would typically also be a director and a shareholder of the company, signing suretyships in favor of the seller on behalf of the company, so that the seller can then also sue those sureties or that surety in his or in their private capacities if the company then fails to perform. Now, suretyships are, in my experience, actually seldom included in the sale of fixed property, because typically your transfer of the property would in any event only happen after the purchaser has secured the purchase price by the delivery of a bank guarantee or by payment of the purchase price in trust with the conveyancers. So if that doesn't happen, then the seller would be able to cancel the transaction and he would still hold the property in his name, and there wouldn't be any further substantial losses normally for a seller in that scenario. Where a suretyship, however, becomes extremely important is if there is an installment sale transaction, which we also discussed in a previous video. If you agree that the purchaser will pay the purchase price or a portion of the purchase price in installments, and if you, for example, then transfer the property and register a bond in favor of the seller, as we explained in the other video, as security, I would also urge you, as a further form of security, to make sure that the directors and preferably all the shareholders also sign a suretyship in favor of the seller, so that if the purchaser fails to perform, then at least the seller has the bond over the property that he can rely on, and also he can sue those representatives and the shareholders, directors of the company in their personal capacity, and that certainly makes a big difference on your chances of successfully recovering the amount from the purchaser. So keep a suretyship in mind, especially if there is an agreement whereby the purchase price is paid in installments. So yeah, you are once again welcome to ask us to assist you with the drafting of such a clause, such a suretyship. My name is Volker Kruger from Velden-Duffey Attorneys.